Wall Street Memes Casino,
I'm fine.
and Sportsbook.
This is KUGAN CASSIUS for IFLTV. It's been quite a little while now, actually, since we've last spoken, I think. Gareth A.Davies, how are you?
I'm very well. I'll tell you when it was. I'll tell you exactly when it was.
You've got a diary of me, Gareth.
I have got a diary of you. It was, the last one we did of June. 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, wow.
Skip a week, basically.
Hmm.
I went to Newcastle for PFL.
Right.
Where Sav Marshall made her MMA debut after our 3 weeks in Saudi Arabia. And then last weekend was obviously the Crystal Palace show. And I went to see Roy Jones Jr., Crypto Fight Nights, Roy Jones Jr., Tony Lightning fighting again, and Chris Cyborg making her boxing debut in the UK at Indigo. And I missed you on Saturday night as well at our local launch. Club 44, is it, or something? I don't know.
Rumours.
Never mind. Enough.
Gareth, let's just have a quick recap. We know you haven't got too much time here, so let's kind of skim through as many things as we can. So, yeah, I mean, look, a summary from the weekend just gone. Emphatic knockout from Tank Davies over in America. We saw Chris Smith retain his world title against Riakporhe. We saw a loss for Isaac Chamberlain against Jack Massey. On that Crystal Palace card, we saw a win for Ben Whittaker. Yeah, just a recap from the weekend from what you saw. We know you weren't at those events, but just a recap from what you can kind of piece together from that.
So I've caught up with it all. Tank Davis, I watched all the way through the week. He owned Frank Martin in the build-up and really at the end of the fight. His ability to mentally get into his opponents is growing and growing. He believes he's the face of boxing. He isn't yet. He's the face of boxing in America and will have some enormous fights with Vasyl Lomachenko, with Shaka Stevenson, with Devin Haney, with Ryan Garcia again. But I think his bristling arrogance is a beauty to behold because of his skill set. He made Frank Martin very, very uncomfortable in the build-up, and I think he's absolutely brilliant, and he's destined for the very top of the sport. Chris Smith, in the same way, in a workmanlike way, in an underachiever's way. As he started in the sport, he's now an overachiever. He's one of those extraordinary, I don't mean he's an underachiever in any way. I mean, he's an overachiever in every way, as people might have looked back on the career of someone like Tony Bellew or Anthony Crolla and those guys, where they weren't expected to be dignified and great characters in the sport because of their achievements. It carried them to levels that they were never expected to get to in their careers. And I think he's got there with this victory over Riakporhe. Riakporhe hasn't learned as much as Billum Smith in the 5 years that they've been apart. Billum Smith has had 10 fights, Riakporhe 7. But Billum Smith was the underdog, went into the Lions Den at Crystal Palace at Selhurst Park. I'd been down in Bournemouth on the Monday and Tuesday, and it was the only nice weather in Europe, virtually. And I was thinking he should be fighting here, but he's proven me wrong twice when I picked against him against Okoli and Riakporhe. I'd like to see him in a fight with either Zurdo Ramirez, which is a good fight for him, or even Jaya Pataya. Who knows what he could do, Chris? I'd like to see Ben Shalom get more involved with Matchroom and Queensbury now as well, and get in that mix. Liam Paro really impressed me against Subriel Matias in Puerto Rico. That was a bit of a kick in the backside for Eddie, wanting to develop Puerto Rico. But at the same time, Liam Paro, we didn't know how good he was going to be because of his previous performances. That 140 division has loads of opponents for him, from Regis Prograis to Devin Haney to Tio Lopez to Jack Catterall to others. That's pretty much my recap of the weekend, and it was great to see Roy Jones Jr. at Crypto Fight Nights take the mic and rap for Tony Lightning to walk in, roll back the years. What a humble man Roy Jones Jr. is, and see Chris Cyborg fight in boxing against Aria Wild in London, in the UK for the first time, was amazing. It's a great time for the sport. And, you know, what we thought was going to be quite a quiet weekend, there was plenty of news from it as well, Kugan.
Absolutely. Just picking on from a couple of things you were saying, I think Bob Arum has stated to Boxing Scene that Tank and Lomachenko talks are like to resume within the next week for a possible unification fight there. That'd be interesting.
Loma and Tank.
Yeah, Tank and Loma, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's great. They've also got options, of course. Maybe they want Tank to fight Loma first and then Loma to fight Shaka Stevenson afterwards, and then Shaka Stevenson, I'm assuming Loma loses both these fights, which I apologize for in terms of saying he loses them, but I'm picking Tank and Shaka both to beat Loma at this stage in his career. They'll both be terrific fights. And then I think they'll both fight him this year. They'll both fight Loma this year, and then I think we'll get Tank and Gervonta at some point next year, which is a super fight, which at the moment I just sway towards Tank because of his power. But it's a great time for those guys in America.
Absolutely. Gareth, moving on from that, obviously the press conference, which is next week to announce a proposed 21st of September card at Wembley via Saudi at Wembley. Yeah, a lot of rumours what's going to be on this card. We are going to assume that Anthony Joshua will headline, and we are going to assume that Anthony Joshua will fight Daniel Dubois as the headline act. After that, there's a lot of rumours of fights going on there. Wardley Clark, I think Eddie Hearn had ruled out Inoue being on that card a couple of weeks ago.
Even though I'd love to see him and Nick Ball fight on that card together. 5th division for Inoue, that's what I was dreaming about.
Yeah. Shiraz and Eubank, rumours of that. I mean, I don't know what you can tell us about what you've heard about that card that's going to be announced very shortly.
Well, I can only concur with some of the things you put out there. I mean, it's a bit of an open secret, and Eddie Hearn kind of alluded to that a couple of days ago, that you know, it looks like it's going to be Anthony Joshua and Daniel Dubois. It's a great fight. Daniel Dubois can't be hit by those right hands he took from Hrgovic early in that fight. He's got to take it to Joshua. That's his opportunity. That's his style now. He's got to implement that earlier in the fight. I hope it is them. It'll be great if it is. It'll be a sellout at Wembley. I am hearing Hamza Shiraz and Chris Eubank, been hearing that for weeks and weeks, even before Hamza fought Amo Williams in the 5v5 in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. I was hearing that. Wardley Clark, I'm not so sure about. That's gone a bit cold in my news circular. I'm not sure if they're ready for that, those guys. But it'd be great if they are on that card. And I am hearing it's going to be an absolutely stacked card. I haven't had a chat in the last couple of days with my guys. But I think all will be revealed in about 8 days' time. It'll be another big press conference in London. And of course, it's the first or second big event outside Saudi Arabia that's being invested by the Saudi Arabian Riyadh season, His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh. And it's good signs for the sport. And I mean, and just to cap off, because you will ask me this, what do I know about the 4 to 5 billion rumours takeover of the sport? I don't know anything. There were no quotes in that article. It's pure speculation. It's a huge sum of money. All I would say is to all those that are debating what happens around it, we have no governing body, world governing body in our sport. And if we can get homogeneity across drug testing, bans, aligned groups on rankings, and know who the top 20 in the world are in every weight division, as we do in heavyweight boxing right now through Saudi Arabian investment, well, I just think that's excellent, because it just puts boxing back in a different place to the Wild West it has been. But as we've seen over the last 9 months, 8-9 months, the biggest fights are being made, and they will continue to be made.
Realistically, though, do you see this proposed takeover amongst some suggested promoters actually?
There is no proposed takeover. It is purely speculation. I don't see it. It's not. I would not use the word takeover. I just don't. It's not a takeover. You could say that the Saudi Arabians haven't taken over the heavyweight division. They've invested in our sport based on interest in the sport. The right guy in His Excellency Turki Al Sheikh at the helm, who's a huge boxing aficionado who wants to restore it to it. They're not making money out of it at the moment. They've invested hundreds of millions in it. Let's just be thankful that we have people that want to invest in the sport, not knock it.
Gareth, final one before I do let you go, because I do know you have to go. I don't know if you saw Johnny Nelson's comments last week regarding Tyson Fury. Johnny Nelson has stated that he doesn't think that Tyson Fury will fight Usyk for that rematch, and says that the fight won't happen on December 21st in Saudi Arabia. We know Johnny Nelson does say some sometimes off-key things, but I just wanted to know what your thoughts are about those comments, him saying that Fury won't fight Usyk on the 21st.
Well, I don't understand why he wouldn't. He's got plenty of time to recover. He's had a nosh up. He's had a blowout. We saw it all the other day. It's unfortunate that people have to film it and put it out there. I suspect those people that filmed it have had a drink up themselves at some point, unless it was Morecambe's Teetotal Society that filmed the bloody video. It's unfortunate that happens today. I just felt when he was being led out, I've had a drink with Tyson before when I've been on stage with him, and he's not an aggressive character. He was led out of there because he was drunk. And it's just unfortunate, and it's unfortunate people film that and want to put it out there and make a song and dance about it. He'd been in camp for ages. We know what kind of shape he was in. He's not a big drinker, actually, Tyson, by the way. I know that about him. You know, he's not a big drinker. It's just unfortunate. And he was in the gym the next day saying, look, you saw me there, but this is what I'm interested in. He's declaring he wants to fight. I do not understand why he wouldn't fight on December the 21st myself. So if Johnny's got intel that that he needs to give us, write it in the comments below right now, Johnny.
This is a discussion last week during the Billham Smith and Reactful Fight Week, because I know Johnny Nelson does say some things sometimes. We know that, you know, some for effects and some because he truly believes it. I just didn't see where the major doubt was coming. Listen, I can understand everyone kind of, or certain people saying, oh, well, let's see if it happens, and all this kind of like a bit of a loose doubt. But Johnny Nelson was absolutely convinced the fight will not take place and doesn't want to fight Usyk.
What was Johnny's line going into Fury Usyk before, that it wasn't going to happen or something, wasn't it?
I don't know what day of the week it was when Johnny said.
No, there was I can't remember. Listen, I love Johnny. I do. I mean, we're very good friends, and I just think he takes the converse adverse view sometimes. And
Johnny Nelson did state at one point that he didn't think that Usyk was very good technically. I think that was a Johnny Nelson comment. Amongst other things that Johnny Nelson has said, but I just wanted your thoughts on that. But yeah.
Johnny was a brilliant world champion, 13 world title defenses, 7 years as world champion. He knows the sport inside out. It's changed his life and transformed his life. He is fully entitled to any view that he wants. And listen, I don't agree with him at the moment. I've no intel to say that fight won't happen on December the 21st between Fury and Usyk. And if he thinks that Usyk is technically inept, then I think he's just doing it for clickbait. That
was a while ago. I will say that. That was about 2 or 3 years ago. So
yeah, well, there we go. Well, he wouldn't say that today, then, would
he? Okay, Gareth, have you got anything else you'd like to add before we leave you? Leave us?
No, it's fine. It's good. Don't miss me for another week, please. In the way we're not fortnight guys, we're weekly guys. You and I.
I'm in Birmingham this week for
Denny and Felix.
Denny and Cass, yes.
Glad to see Cash back. I've got to be honest. It's a really good fight. They've both got great narratives. There's a massive story behind Felix. You know, he needs to be out there and find himself again and be in the ring. And Tyler Denny's done extraordinary things in the last few months. So really looking forward to it. And it'll be pretty heated because they both like a bit of a jabberwocker.
And Lyndon Arthur actually in action this
Friday. On Channel 5,
Liam Cameron.
Yeah. Absolutely. Good fight as well. Good to see Lyndon being very active. He's always thereabouts.
Okay, Gareth will definitely make sure we catch up in less than a week's time. Yeah, enjoy the rest of your day, sir.
Yeah, and make sure you behave yourself. Yeah.
Always, Gareth, always.
There's one tiny spot on your neck there for one more tattoo. And it should say, "Don't worry about a thing."
Everything gonna be all right. Right.
And it always is.
Gareth A.Davies, thank you very much for talking to IFLTV. We shall catch up with you again soon, my friend.
My pleasure. Thanks, Coogs.
God bless.
Wall Street Memes Casino,
I'm fine.
and Sportsbook.